What's up, everybody? It's your favorite robot who's got better things to do tonight than die. His favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the MMC Saltus. Salty, you know what I'm saying? Old salty dog. Not really though, right? Character-wise. Anyway, it comes in car mode. This is on loan to me from Eddie. Shout out to Eddie. I appreciate the opportunity because a lot of people have been asking me to take a look at this and I didn't know anyone who was getting it. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. But we do have two modes to get to. The instructions are trash. So let's go ahead and get started. My first impressions have been up on the other Patreon bids. So just to talk about it real quick, the materials feel great. Feels heavy, feels like a brick, and the plastic feels good. So that was kind of my first impressions out of the gate. Forgive the paint on my fingers, I just finished a diorama. So the gun has a flip down handle. The sculpt is nice enough. Gray plastic, black plastic. And that's about it. He holds his gun just fine, utilizing the standard MP plug in the palm engineering. He comes with two adapters. This one, the smaller, more triangular one, you can use to plug into the handle of the weapon, the gun, as it were, the blaster. And once you have this plugged in, you can plug it in to this location on the vehicle to have it sort of armored up. And it does look cool. A lot of times weapons look stupid on vehicles, but I think because this is more of a Cybertronian vehicle and the way it plugs in like out to the side, it does look cool. And your gun assembly will plug into the side of helicopter mode the same way. The sword has paint on the blade, which is nice. So yeah, that was unexpected, but it looks good. And of course it does split to become the rotary blades for the helicopter. So there you have it. And this will, of course, plug into the top and will spin. And his sword as well, the same way. The second adapter grips around the sword, but I don't want to scratch the paint. So I'm not going to show it. It's not mine to scratch, but it clips around the sword like this. I'm just worried. Not saying that it will scratch. I'm just concerned that it will. It clips around, and then this also can plug into the side of the vehicle by using these two slots here, and you just plug that into the side, and then you have this clipped on, and it will go on down the road. So good enough. All right, we have these three pieces, which once combined by inserting this piece onto here with the peg, and they're tight fits, so be careful. I'm not going to push them to their limits. This does not belong to me. And this one I can't even really get to go in there, but yeah, that's sort of an issue, but it is nice. It's that thing from that episode when he's riding on top of Razor Claw, which is pretty cool. Very nicely sculpted and looking weapon, and I believe this is die cast here, the bar, so it gives it a little bit of extra weight and feels good, looks good. Spear doesn't plug in or anything, but you can get him to hold it and balance it with one hand or two by just the tension with the fingers around the length of the pole, so to speak. And he comes with the missile. They gave him the thing, which is pretty cool. Sculpted nicely, painted with the yellow. The yellow looks sharp, no issues, nice color choices, etc. As for the better things to do tonight than die weapon, you're pretty much going to be limited to a balancing act because of the fingers, and the fingers actually pose an issue, but we'll get there when we get to articulation. But as you can see, it is possible to pull off a pose with it if you so desire. He comes with two additional head sculpts, one 5th grade picture head here, and then one kind of more stoic look there. And they look good. They're detailed the same, I believe, as the robot head, so we'll talk about that when we get there. But the paint is done nicely. The face is painted, the yellow is painted, the teeth are painted, and the eyes are painted with a metallic green. Very well done. And then the little side bits here are painted as well, like the little side pieces to the helmet. So it's a good looking head sculpt. Gimmick wise, we get some headlights for car mode. It'd be nice if you had nails on this unit. You know, little translucent blue pieces. Nothing to complain about there. He also has forearm flaps that come up like that scene on both sides. And if you don't like this shoulder situation, you can rotate it to the top and have that instead. So that's another gimmick. And then we have car mode. We have these rubber tires on the bottom, so that's nice. And we have lots of paint, like that comes through in the alt mode, which is nice. It comes through here, the green, yellow. There's some black on there. We have the translucent windshield, which does open up, little steering column and steering wheel in there. And then we have, I had to say this, some of this looks a little unfinished to me. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Doesn't really bother me, and I think because it's Cybertronian, it definitely pulls it off. But this back part is what kind of throws me off the most. However, you know, we talk about this fairly often, but a lot of times with triple changers, it seems like they have to sacrifice one mode, if not two, to pull off the other. And this, to me, definitely comes off as more of the sacrifice of the three. It's not hateful, and the weight still comes through, and it feels like a brick. But I'm not sure if it's as successful. There it is next to Tiger Track. So it's a big boy. Let's get it transformed. So untab the fender piece, bring this black armature down, and then rotate the green piece up and this way so that it's sitting on top. You have to come underneath, so to speak. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Untab the fender, wrap it down, bring it out, bring it down, green piece comes towards the vehicle, up and over, straightened out. On the bottom, flip this piece up to give yourself room to flip the tires in. Untab this entire assembly here. It's on a double hinge, so just kind of work it up so that you can bring out the forearm to the side. Same for the other side, and it's stuck in there. Get it out so you can then rotate the forearm to the outside of the vehicle. Now that you have both pieces up, there's a little tab on the underside of the first piece we flipped out that the forearm needs to come up and over, plug in, and plug into this tab here. And it's just a matter of sorting it, which is easier said than done. There it is. Same on this side. And it's just, if you can look at the tab that has to plug in here, it'll put you in a better spot. It's just hard to see over the camera. Now, we're going to untab this back piece, fold it kind of up on itself, spin it around 180, fold it up, fold it down. Then this whole piece slides forward. On the underside, rotate your rear tires into the bottom. Then unfold your rear pieces, and there's two sections that you have to kind of extend. Do that on both sides, and then we'll line it up. All right, so you want to align this so that this is a straight line on the side. So just swivel, there's a couple things that move around down at the bottom, just swivel them as need be. That part's a little gunked up. And make sure that these rear wings here are flipped to the outside. Then unpeg your section here and move this around to the back. And then you'll notice there is a series of tabs. Just get them all lined up and plugged together. One important thing worth noting is after you've tabbed everything together, if you can just bend here at the knees, you can wrap these two things around. These are the two pieces that peg into the side for car mode. That will allow you to get it more flush for more of a straight line here. Otherwise, it kind of ends up sitting out at an angle a little bit and gives it a funny look. So that's how you want to work around that. And the instructions aren't really clear about it. And then it's just a matter of cleaning up the front again, tab the shoulder block back into where it was, and then rotate this piece down and make sure it's tidy. And just do the same thing for the other side. Shoulder block down, this piece back in, and make sure it's all tidy. I'll get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it. The one thing I didn't do is tuck this back in underneath. That's just my own fault there, but my bad. It should be pretty self-explanatory. So, of course, that spins. This looks pretty good to me. This I do not view as a sacrifice. I don't have this tabbed in all the way, just as a heads up, because it's a really tight tolerance on those shoulders, and I don't want to put any extra stress on it. But, like, that's pretty slick right there. And the transformation from one mode to the other is that was very elegant. But there is like some scratch marks on the gray piece on this one that I have here. I'm guessing that's not intentional, and it's actually, there's some on the bottom too. So be on the lookout with yours the same way, but pretty solid though. Still feels great, and I love the process. Like it's fun, you know, like they kept the fun element, which is very cool. So that does it for this. Let's of course put them next to the tracks of Tiger and keep it moving. So the first thing that we're gonna do is get these legs sorted. So let's bring these out, split our connection that we just worked so hard trying to get put together, and rotate them out to the side. We're then gonna put them back together. We have to keep track of this blade here. We have to rotate this on top of as we spin and turn this so that it will all tuck neatly inside of this cavity. We'll show that again. Just bring out the fin to the opposite side so that it won't connect. Bring this around, rotate this up, spin it in a manner that will allow it to align with this cavity that we're trying to fill with it. We're then going to straighten the knee, put it in an anatomical correct location. Make sure that this part here is flipped up. Sometimes it can be down because of if we went from car mode to this, so make sure that that's flipped up. And then we're going to bring the feet down, bring this around to the back, and just get it in the proper state. This should be fairly intuitive at this point, regarding the legs anyway. It's a no-brainer. So, there you go. On the underside, dealing with the arms, just untab it from that connection that we made, and you have to clean up the shoulder again. You can get this out of the way, rotate this in, and we have to come underneath, right? So, like that, and then tuck that in. So, same on this side. We're untabbing from the bottom, bringing this down, bringing this down, or actually rotating it towards the vehicle so we can bring this up, down, and around. And it's relatively intuitive. It's one of those steps that's probably tricky to follow while watching a review if that's your method, but it's easy to do in hand. It's very intuitive. Now this is one of my favorite parts. So you see this piece here, as you bring the arm down, that'll plug into this bottom piece, making it one piece that then operates together as an elbow. I love that. But flip this piece down here, and then you can flip the hand out, and then close this back up. Same on the other side, down, and out. Close it up. Then we gotta do away with our power suit business shoulders, and we're just gonna wrap them around to the side. That will bring this part around to the front properly. This part folds back. This whole piece accordions, plugs into the back of the shoulder, back, forward. Same for the other side, around, to the side, back, plugs in, back, back. Now here is the wonkiest part of this transformation, but it's not impossible, and there seems to be a trick to it anyway. So pull off is probably the wrong choice of words. We want to untab this. Use this as a lever to untab these two green tabs there, which are a pain, and they don't feel good. Spin this around, collapse this, forget it for now. The front part, we want to flip this forward again. We want to use our nail and get right in here and flip this forward as far as it'll go. That might have to cause you to slide this green piece back in order to get the clearance. Now, the problem is these flank pieces, and they bump up against this middle piece. But if you get something like just a little screwdriver and push right on this corner, right here, I'll show you on the other one, right there. The whole thing will accordion out quite nicely. Transformers. You're killing me, kid. All right, take this, untab it from the top, fold it around, and that'll all plug in together. We'll clean it up later. On the other side, take that and fold it down. Get your arms out of the way. Slide your backpack now all the way up to collapse it, and that's pretty much it. Pretty exciting? I'm gonna clean it up so we can take a look at it, okay? Let's talk about the figure. So the head is on a hinge swivel. You can get up to there, down to there and actually has an additional hinge inside of the neck so you can get down a fair bit, which is nice, especially for a big bot. And you have the swivel around, so no issues. Once again, just like the alternate heads, the yellow's painted, the dark green's painted, the face is painted, the eyes are painted with a metallic bluish, which looks great. Now, the chest, we have paint on the green, paint on the yellow, paint on the black, all looks great. Fantastic job. We have a waist swivel, and we have an ab crunch that gets you down to there. So, once again, nice job. I think we can start to say that the Takara influence of high articulation within the within the third-party MP world is definitely taking place. We're seeing more and more ab crunches, more and more butterflies, etc. So that's awesome. All right, moving on. I do want to say one thing: the lack of abdomen. I don't like it. Like the way that the or waist or whatever you want to call it. My wife says she gets annoyed with that, but the chest comes down and it just sort of comes down like a box. There's no heavy differentiation between abdomen and chest, which I don't care for. All right, for the arms, you do have a bit of a butterfly joint here on a swivel, or a hinge rather, where the shoulder engineering connects to the chest. You then have a universal joint outside of it that gets the arm well above 90 degrees. Looking great. And the full 360 on the swivel aspect. We have a bicep swivel, a little tight, but it's there. We have the elbow, which is double jointed, gets you the full run, especially if you use the different shoulder option. And then we have the hands. Swivel here. They also hinge a little bit up and down, which is nice. I like more wrist movement than just a swivel, and I appreciate that a good bit. Thumb is on a ball peg with a pin and an additional knuckle for a hinge. So that's nice. The finger pinned at the first knuckle, but then it's just a tension pin for the second and third, a la KFC, which is not my favorite way of doing business. It is effective here, and it is tolerance better than we've seen with KFC, but not my favorite way of doing business. The base pin knuckle goes all the way through for the rest, which are typewriter fingers, but at least he can point. So I'll take it and get you a little... Hey. On the other side, same thing. We have hip skirts that will come up on a pinned hinge for universals. Ratcheted forward and back, all the way forward. However, you can get out to the side, but you can't rotate it out to the side like this and then, oh no, you can. I just had a problem doing it when I was messing around taking pictures. So yeah, we're good to go. Full Monty and full Van Damme. So good to go there. Thigh swivel at a cut joint, which is fine. Not my favorite way of doing business, but it does make it cleaner, so I'm good with that. We have the knees. The knees are a bit of an issue for me. So they're double hinged. They're very unsightly at the double hinge, but small price to pay, right? They're not ratcheted, which is a bummer because this is die cast up in here. There's a lot of weight up in here, die cast in the chest, I believe, as well. And as you're manipulating them, like I found, like the knees tend to kind of give out on you a bit. You get them posed on a shelf, you're not going to have a problem. But just in the sense of playing around with them, it does create some frustration. There's no reason why these couldn't have been ratcheted. The other problem that I have with the knees are these things here. Now these clip into the side of the waist during transformation. But I don't know, they're constantly bumping up against this piece, which is painted. Now I haven't had any issues yet, as you can see, but it is something that makes me slightly nervous. Moving down, we have pretty much plastic, but it looks good. It looks fine. Then we have some black paint accents on the kneecaps. And then we have the feet, which are another issue for me, or should I say. So, you do get an ankle tilt up, no problem. You get an ankle tilt, down, no problem. And you get a rocker at a hinge that's up inside of against the back plate of the calf. It is a little limiting. I think I'm going to have a stroke like any day. It is a little limiting, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a bummer. And then you have the heel spur that's on its own, and the toe itself, it's on its own. So it can act as a toe hinge or an ankle rocker or ankle tilt, depending on how you have it, which is all fine. That all works well. It's just the rocker that doesn't work as well. And because of all the moving pieces down here, once again, while messing with it, manipulating it, I have had issues getting it to kind of be in line. Like I have to kind of constantly work at it to get it where I want it in order to get the pose that I want. And we'll show him from the back. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. The backpack is definitely there. It's present. But once again, I don't think it's unsightly. You know, it's kind of par for the course with the character. There's extra bits here hanging off, but I think it kind of adds something rather than detracts. So yeah, I don't have any real issues in regard to the back aesthetics. I have a bit of an issue with this. It's just not clean. It just looks a little chuggish ruggish to the bone to me, but otherwise pretty good. Let's do some size comparisons. Size comparison wise, there he is next to Hoodlum. I think that looks pretty good. I'll show you him next to the core movie cast that I have on my shelf right now. So there it is with my core movie cast. And I think he'll fit in fine. You know, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't fit in. You know, there he is next to Rodimus, about the same height, so that kind of works. Shorter than Magnus and so forth, so no issues as far as I'm concerned. And there it is next to Fans Toys. I have a lot to say about this. Definitely willing to have that discussion. If you guys would like to see a versus episode between these two, I'd be more than willing to do it. Just let me know in the comments and I'll get to work on that. I'm not sure I'll have it done in time for this Saturday, but certainly the following. But I'll do what I can. But there they are next to one another. I think there's pros and cons to both, but ultimately your decision to make. Final thoughts wise, let's get the negatives right out of the way. This toy pulls off one mode exceptionally well, one mode pretty well, and one mode not so much. That not so much mode is car mode. And unfortunately, it does take the brunt of the poor aesthetics. I'm not crazy with the feet design. It doesn't get you enough ankle rocker and becomes frustrating when manipulating it to get it into the pose that you want and maintain its balance and maintain believability with keeping both feet on the ground. The shoulders could be a bit more clean. Also, one of my larger aesthetic gripes with this thing is the abdomen or waist or whatever you want to call it, and you should probably say the lack thereof. And this thing should have definitely 100% had knee ratchets. It would have helped tremendously, and it's really the only piece of hardware that you feel like should have been there. Positives wise, there's far more to talk about. There's plenty of paint and it looks fantastic. The materials feel great. We have die cast and solid plastics, along with decent hardware where it's used and outstanding articulation. With the exception of the ankle rockers, there's not one thing about it that you'll want more of, in my opinion. The helicopter mode looks beautiful and the robot mode looks pretty good. They gave you more accessories than you probably need, but they're all awesome. And I like that you have the options in regard to the shoulder placement, whether you want to go with a more G1 representation or Studio Ox representation. Or, of course, even have them off at a diagonal. Who's fancy? But the biggest thing that you walk away with regarding this is probably the best engineered triple changer I've ever seen in third party in regard to transformation. The transformation is fun, enjoyable, and intuitive and rewarding between all three modes. The only slight issue are those flank flaps that you kind of have to peel out a certain kind of way in order to get them to work properly. But outside of that, small price to pay for a very brilliantly designed transformation. So yeah, it's a strong recommend from me. Whether or not I recommend it over the Fans Toys will be up to you to decide if you want the answer to. Just let me know in the comments and I'll do a versus. I'll try to get it done this week, if not definitely next week. And with that being said, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.